We are live now, so I am so anxious to get down and talk with Joe about what he's doing, and
I'm
we
excited.
appreciate folks joining us this Tuesday, this snowy Tuesday in
Super snowy
February.
Tuesday.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us tonight. We're gonna just patter for a few minutes, and then we're gonna just uh, jump into a interview with Joe. We're just going to kind of sit back and learn about his journey, where it started and where it's going and where it may go in the future. But we appreciate you joining us tonight, Joe.
Hey, I feel honored to be a part of this, especially just learning that you guys have been doing this for what, 3.5 years or so.
Yeah.
Super excited to be a guest on your show. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, we're excited. Um, the group that gathers has so many talented people that
My bad.
that we are really glad to have you inspire us as well. I see Luis has already joined, and folks are
Luis,
already
shout out.
joining on now. So um,
So I call my community the Atang gang. So anybody out there who is part of the Atang gang, I appreciate you guys for being out there. And anybody who I haven't really connected with before, I just appreciate you for tuning in and checking out Roger's show.
yeah, before we start, from last week, we had a kind of Tuesday at 7. It was called Tuesday at 7 News. And what we did is we just were promoting projects that a lot of our community artists were involved with, including the release um, of Judas and the Black Messiah, which was a release. One of our stuntmen and actors, Chris Hahn, was out for there. That thing's out on HBO and out in the theaters
Wow,
now.
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a number of things that were released, but I had two giveaways, and I'm just going to call them out real quick. And so the giveaways go, the t-shirts, Tuesday at 7 t-shirts go to Jess and to Craig. So I'll connect with both of you. I already have Jess's address, but I'll get those t-shirts out to you. And for anyone who shares this video here on Facebook, your name will be put into a drawing next week. And if your name's drawn, and then you get a Help Inspire beanie, which will get out to
Beanie.
you. Yeah.
Let's go. That's awesome. Hey, I'm trying to share on my page right now, so that is what's distracting me at the
Oh,
very moment.
not a
Uh,
problem. Not a problem. Take your time, because, and I think one of the things that people find um, attractive to the Tuesday at 7 is we're informal. It's kind of like an over the table, a kitchen table conversation, sitting on the couch,
Pretty
and
laid back.
yeah, we've got a number of people joining in. Again, for those who share, your name will be put in a drawing next week for a Help Inspire beanie, which would be appropriate for most of the United States this cold February.
How many inches of snow did you get? Did you guys receive?
Yeah, so we're in Cleveland, and we have about 6. But what was weird is the top layer was ice, and so it was like really cold, and
Mm,
then it warmed up, and then iced over the top. So it's great
wow.
for cross country skiing and probably even for downhill skiing, which
Yeah, for
we
sure.
enjoy doing. How about
Yeah,
you?
I would say we got about 7 inches. Supposed to receive more today or this evening, so
Mm,
looking forward to that.
it keeps coming on down. I like winter. I love winter.
You know what? It's fascinating. Being from Texas, where I mean, now we're experiencing some snow and some like extreme weathers, right? But like being from there, where that only happens, once every 10 years or something like that, uh, I really, really hated the cold. But now that I've been in Indiana for about 5 years or so, and I started running, I ran about 6.5 miles today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate running in the cold, and
Yeah.
so trying to get used to it. But it's not as bad as I was thinking.
Yeah. We've got folks joining us. We even have a comment here. Of course, Luis is Well, what a great guy. We appreciate you being there. Sarah's coming in from Washington State, and she says, "Hey Joe, thanks for coming here." She's just 30 minutes from the Canadian border, so
Nice.
yeah. I usually start off the interviews with just a question, and it's this one's not terribly off topic. People will understand what it is probably as we dig in, but I'm going to give you 3 names, and you just have to choose one, and you can explain why you choose it, or you could just choose a name and move on. But I'm going to give you 3 names. Are you ready?
All right.
All right. 3 names.
Let's go.
Michael, Kobe, LeBron. You got to choose one.
Kobe.
Yeah. Yeah.
The reason I choose Kobe, I was going to choose Michael, obviously, for Michael Jordan. And I didn't even know where you were going with this. So I heard Michael, and I was like, the first thought was Michael Jordan. Then I heard Kobe, and I was like, okay, this is a basketball-related question. The reason I choose Kobe is because I think just growing up, I had a chance to watch him throughout his career. I didn't really get a chance to watch Jordan as much.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I was impacted more by Kobe and his journey.
Yeah. I had a chance to watch Jordan beat the Cavs many times in the playoffs. So
Nice.
But,
Nice. You know what else I appreciate about Kobe?
what's that?
So Michael Jordan, don't get me wrong, I believe he's like the greatest basketball player to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a Joe Atang opinion.
Yeah.
But the reason I respect Kobe is because he wasn't, I think, as physically gifted as Michael Jordan or some of these players out there. And he was just so focused on his craft.
Yeah.
And that's how I respect it. Like the amount of work he put in to just level up his game is what I respect about Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, I love your answer. And for those who will join us for this conversation, you'll understand the relevance of that first question. But take us back, Joe. Take us back to your early days, whatever that means to you, and talk a little bit about like the placing of those foundational blocks in your life.
Yeah, it's actually fresh on my mind because yesterday I had the opportunity to I attended a virtual youth conference. So I was a speaker, a keynote speaker there. So my conversation was really about my story when I was younger and how I became who I am today. And I'm first generation American. My parents are from Africa. And I'll go ahead and save you some time. The country is not Nigeria, because every time I say that, my family's from Africa, they always assume it's either Nigeria or Ghana, or they never guess Cameroon, which is the country that they're from. Neighbors to Nigeria, which is in West Africa. And so for me, and for anyone who doesn't really understand what this high on my hand represents, it stands for Help Inspire. There we go. They're the epitome of helping to inspire, because think about it. You have people who come from, a different country where there's cultural differences, there's language barriers, and basically start a life from scratch. And they built themselves up to where they are entrepreneurs. They own their own businesses. They have brought family over from Cameroon to America to start a new life. They put their children through school. And so for me, that's been really inspirational. And when I was younger, I didn't really obviously understand or get it, but I think I was impacted by their example, just being good human beings and being hard workers. And so for me, I think growing up, I was an adventurous kid because I was pretty much being raised in 2 different cultures. Like in my household, it was the Cameroon way, but then going to school and meeting friends here in America, it was like the American culture. And so for me, it was always one of adapting and just trying to get familiar with how to mesh both cultures. And so I used to think my parents were mean. They wouldn't let us hang out with any friends. If we were to go over to someone's house to play, they had to be real close with our parents. Other than that, everyone came to our house and they hung out there. And I was really into video games growing up. And one of my favorite video games at the time was it was a Nintendo 64 game. Did you ever play any Nintendo 64?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm old enough where I was playing Atari with the joystick too.
I think I played a little bit of Atari, but I played Zelda and was super into that game because I felt like I was him. It was a teenager who was on an adventure in life.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was a pretty optimistic, pretty outgoing, pretty social kid. And going into my fifth grade, I had a major accident where I shattered my two front teeth. And I went from being this kid who was making friends with everybody. And I have a story for you. So I had an opportunity to visit Cameroon twice, when I was 8 and when I was 12.
Nice.
I think on the second trip, when we were coming back to America, my mom was telling me that all she could remember is, because I made friends with everybody. They could be adults or children. She remembers me giving out phone numbers to people, telling them to contact me when I got back to the States. And she was just sitting back like, what phone numbers is he giving these people? Like, we don't even have, like, cell phones weren't in at the time. I didn't even know my house number. I was just saying, call me, when I get back to America. So I went from being this social butterfly to being this super insecure kid because of my accident.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I realized was that I went in the shell. I just started doubting myself and, not liking how I looked, and just became super quiet. And it's crazy how much a smile can, impact you, because I felt like I was in the shadows growing up. And I don't know, man. It took me a while to kind of find out, who I was. And I think I attribute a lot of it to basketball.
Mm.
The Rockets won the championship in 1993 back-to-back. And I saw the impact that they had on my family, because Hakeem Olajuwon is Nigerian. And just because he's West African, I know that my family was proud of that. And then I just saw how they impacted the city. And so for me, I think I was inspired by the game and wanted to, pick that up and be the best basketball player I could be. So
I played basketball with a tall gentleman that had lost or chipped his front tooth on the rim, and he was going to Cleveland State at the time, and that was Manute Bol. So tall. I remember walking up to him because we were in a pickup game, and I think his hip bone was about even to my shoulder, and I'm 6 foot
wild.
tall. So, but yeah, what important foundational things, right? And so what do you think that injury to your teeth? I mean, what did that do? I mean, it's enough for you to think back to say that was a hurdle to cross.
I think really, I'm going to give it credit to me being who I am today, because it kind of forced me to fight for myself, like to believe in myself. Mm-hmm. Funny story. By the way, I hate to admit that you're taller than me. On paper, I always put that I was 6 feet, but I'm really 5'11". I'm really 5'10", probably. But
okay.
Nice. I didn't know you were six feet.
6 even.
Nice. So going into the fifth grade with my tooth injury, this is how gullible and naive I was as a child. I go in, obviously my classmates are asking me what happened. I remember this vividly. They're asking, what happened? Oh my gosh, like, what happened to your teeth? And I was sharing the story with them. And by the end of the day, the class was chanting, dentures, dentures, dentures. And me, I'm remembering how the Rockets impacted the stadium. I'm like, all right, they're chanting for me, like, dentures, dentures. And I remember on the car ride home, having a conversation with my sister and my dad, and like kind of bragging about the class chanting. And my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, was like, Joe, get the dictionary and look it up. Like, look what dentures mean. And I think, just to answer your question, that's when I experienced shame. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, they weren't really cheering for me. They were like making fun of me. Mm-hmm. And I think it just made me super self-conscious of myself. And when I was sharing this story with the youth group yesterday, I think there's two things I'm going to say about that. Number one, I wish, and I'm not taking anything away from my parents or anybody who was in my life at the time, I just wish there was someone there to tell me that experience that I had, that's what's going to make me awesome. That's what's going to make me unique. And that's the thing that if I can embrace it and learn from it and grow from it and know that it's just temporary, that it's going to make me a stronger person. But secondly, I start to realize, and everybody here who's listening, at some point when you learn how to communicate, you realize that you actually start having conversations with yourself. And society likes to call that crazy, but it's just a fact. We all have the conversations with ourselves. And what I realized then was that I started having a bad dialogue, a negative dialogue with myself. And going into my freshman year, just by serendipity, I happened to pull a sheet of paper out and a pen and write myself a letter. Why? I can't even tell you why. I just wrote myself a letter, which is basically promising myself that no matter what anybody says, no matter what anybody thinks about me, I was going to be the best basketball player that I can be and be happy about it. And I read that letter every single day, and like my life literally started to transform. And so to answer your question directly, I think what I took away from that experience is to believe in myself, learning how to believe in myself.
That was your freshman year of high school that you wrote that letter to yourself?
Freshman year of high school.
Right. So that letter was obviously going to be reinforcing that positive self-talk. And how did that affect your next 4 years of school, your high school years?
I was extremely focused. Like, you have those students who are really into their books, and like they're really disciplined about turning in their homework on time, working on their homework, weeks ahead. I was that disciplined with basketball. So I was up early in the morning before school. Well, actually, my dad, who was the person who took us to school primarily, because my mom worked super early, he took us to school early, like an hour before school started, because he had to get to work. And so I would use that time to be practicing basketball in the gym. Mm-hmm. And I literally would walk around campus with the basketball in my hand, and I just was so focused on the game. And I think the best way to put it to you guys who are listening is, like, I was just in the zone. I was committed to it, and I'm going to give credit to my parents, because their work ethic, through their example of doing what they love and just working at it every single day, I guess I was just like, this is what I love, and I'm going to show up and practice every single day.
You found yourself disciplined, but then also, I know a bit about your story. Not only disciplined and focused, but you also found yourself starting to excel in that sport.
Yeah. That's a big point. Exactly. I felt like I was getting better. Mm-hmm. I went from being a kid who was, as much as I love the Rockets, I just was terrible at the game. My dad played professional soccer in Cameroon, so he was teaching me the game of soccer. No one in my family really played basketball. I just saw the Rockets. It was like, that's what I want to do. I don't want to really play soccer. So, I went from being terrible to going into my freshman year, getting to suit up for JV and varsity. And I was like, man, something's happening here.
Yeah. This morning, as you were leading your almost daily live out there on TikTok, you talked about focus, and you said it's like basketball. And in order to be better at the craft, right, to improve your free throw shooting or shooting from any spot on the floor, you have to focus, right?
Right.
Tell us about that.
It's funny. I was. Do you listen to any of Joe Rogan's podcasts?
I do.
Awesome. I love Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Not to get to any detail about what he does, but he was interviewing a guy. I think he was the lead singer of a famous band that I can't really remember the name. But anyways, he was talking about the law of attraction and talking about focusing, and he was using an example of, because he rides motorcycles, when they're teaching you how to ride and you're turning, they tell you to look into your turn. And when I was hearing that conversation, I was like, oh, it's the same as basketball. Like, when you're shooting a basketball, like you said this in my live this morning, like they teach you to look at the rim, look at where you're trying to shoot the ball and follow through. And for me, I just see life, I see happiness as being that way. I think it's a practice of focusing, not even every single day, but like in every moment. And the formula I'm using in life today is literally the formula that I used in high school of focus.
I'll tell you what, there is something simplistically profound about using your basketball experiences and applying them towards life. The idea of looking at the rim, looking at your target, and following through is a simple thing that we learned in our teen years, but something that certainly applies towards later in life. And I'm going to get back to that as well. So you excel in your high school years. Give us, maybe a couple highlights or a couple thoughts as you were kind of moving into those upper class years and maybe that transition into college.
Highlights. So one highlight that I think is pretty fun to share, just because we're talking about high school, is because I'm so competitive and because I feel like I had a chip on my shoulder. Mm-hmm. I told you I used to get to school early, like an hour early. So literally I feel like it was the first week of school. I was practicing basketball. Then some of the students started to come in. A big game of dodgeball started happening. The point guard, who was a senior at the time for our high school team, would start playing dodgeball as well. And I was like, look, he's the leading point guard. I guess it's because I was competitive. I was like, I'm going to play dodgeball too, and I'm going to win. So it so ends up that I had the ball, and I had pegged him, and he didn't like the way I pegged him, and him and I got in a fight. First week of school, and I'm not a fighter at all, but the fact that, I got in a fight with the leading point guard of the basketball high school team, I think it's funny because it just shows how competitive I was coming in as a freshman. And, to lead into some of those other highlights, like I said, I had a chance to, suit up as a JV player, which is a big deal. I even suited up for some varsity games as well. Going into my sophomore year, I pretty much was playing varsity. And one of the biggest highlights of my high school moment, and yes, if you guys are listening, is like, all this guy talks about is basketball. Basketball was all I could think about. It was nothing else. I wasn't even that great of a student. And the reason I excelled is because of my parents pushing me, but because I knew that if I didn't do well in with my grades, like I wouldn't be able to play on the team. So I gave it some effort there. But I had a coach transfer. He was a college coach, and he was an actual recruiter. And usually, just to kind of give some context here, players start getting recruited like around junior year. I wasn't getting recruited at all. I almost didn't even care. I just wanted to keep getting better. And so going into my senior year, I had this coach transfer to my school, and he was literally just kind of assessing all of us as players. And he pulled me to the side and he was like, "Are you trying to play at the next level?" And when he asked me that question, I was like, I'm kind of not even thinking about playing I would love to play college basketball, but I'm kind of not there. But he was so serious with this question, like, dude, you're a college player, get your act together. And it was that conversation that I had with him that kind of instilled in me that I was a way better player than I was giving myself credit to. Mm. And so it was from that moment that I feel like I leveled up and started to take practicing and, my development with the game a lot more serious. And I feel like if it wasn't for that conversation, I don't think I would have excelled into the next level at all.
And you did play at that next level, right? At the college level, yeah?
I did. I fortunately, which is crazy too, after my senior year, after the season was over, during my senior year, I still wasn't getting any kind of calls or anything. And I think like the last week of school, that coach, shout out to Coach Vic, he called me. He was like, dude, you have two coaches who are interested in you. You have a school in California and you have an NAIA school here in Houston. And he was like, I'm going to let you pick. And so I picked California just because it was cool to get away from home and play ball and say, like, I traveled to play basketball. So I played 2 years of junior college and then I transferred back to Houston, which is insane how life works. Because when I transferred back to Houston, HBU, which was the NAIA school who was offering me at the time, they went from being NAIA to a Division I program. And so I literally transferred into a Division I opportunity, which was on my letter to myself freshman year, something that I dreamed of doing. So it all worked out in ways that I can't even describe, like how it unfolded.
Point guard, right?
Point guard. Really good shooting guard.
Shooting guard, okay.
I didn't turn into a true point guard until after junior college, really.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Connect the dots for us. How you went from basketball, launched into life, and took those same life lessons, right? The focus, follow through, right? The learning along the way, and I think understanding. I mean, a lot of folks, when they look back at those kid years, they remember things that that may have been tangible, not ideas, or those memories of that coach inspired me by asking me, am I wanting to go to that next level? So take me through that transition, college to kind of your adult years.
Yeah. So when I graduated from HBU, which was in 2010, in my mind, because basketball was life, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, the next obvious step is go try to play professional basketball overseas, which to me, looking back on it, that was kind of the cool thing to do after you graduate. So that was my mindset. Yeah. I graduated and I was like, you know what? I'm going to be working out and see if I can create an opportunity to go play overseas. I was staying with my parents, and I remember my mom, who's a hairdresser, her company gave her these iPods. That's when iPods were famous. And inside of these iPods, they had business thought leaders like Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, like just these big influencers in the business ecosystem. And so as I was running and working out and training, I would put that iPod in my ear and just be listening. And one thing that really stood out to me was just the fact that there's more to life than just basketball. And I started to learn new things about like the human psychology and about people and about relationships. And I started to I think I somehow got involved in some multi-level marketing opportunity, which was around selling like anti-aging supplements and things of that nature, and just really started to connect with people outside of the basketball culture. And I was just like, man, there's really a lot more to life than the game. My mom at the time opened up her salon, Innovative Looks Hair Salon in Houston, Texas, and I kind of hit a fork in the road. It was either, Joe, stay on this path and try to grind it out and like force your way into playing overseas, or start expanding your career in business. And actually give a lot of credit to my dad, because I was undeclared for a while in college, and he told me to look into marketing. And when I graduated, that I could probably find opportunities in basketball or in some kind of sports arena if that's something that I wanted to stick into. So I was like, you know what, I'll do it, but I'm really trying to play overseas. But it's just funny how life works out, because when I hit that fork in the road, I was like, man, it's time to move on from basketball and start to explore other options and see if I can grow as a business guy, as a man, just as a human being. And so that was my transition point. And
so probably hours and hours and hours, because back at the time, Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins and all those, mindset business leaders, they had a whole lot of content out there. So do you listen to any of those content? Do you listen to any of those content creators or those thought leaders still today?
All the time. I've narrowed it down to pretty much listening to one guy. Like, obviously, I mentioned Joe Rogan, so anything that I can get education from, because I think I have a passion of just learning. I'm a sponge. I'm a student of life. And that's one thing I appreciated about Kobe as well, is that you could tell he was a sponge as well. Like, he just wanted to be good at everything that he did. The Mamba mentality. Yeah. Right? And so I feel like I'm the same way. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so, I mean, that's a great point, is that as we opened up our interview, and I gave you three names, and that was Kobe, Michael, Kobe, and then LeBron, and then I was just like, hey, what name do you choose? And you were like, Kobe, and that was because he was one that did not have that same superior physicality, right, to dominate, and he was one that just grounded out and put in the repetitions and was a hard worker. No wonder that was the name that that name that you chose. And
literally have goosebumps around my neck, because that's so true. Yeah. He was humble about who he was. Yeah. In my opinion. I mean, obviously there's Kobe out there who, when he's hitting game winners, he's like showing his shirt off. But in interviews, I pay attention. And I can tell, he was in the NBA, but he never let that get to his head. He was like, I have to work. In order to be good, I have to put in the effort. And so I think that's what attracted me to him was, work ethic is super attractive to me.
Yeah. From just our 30 minutes so far, I get all these. I mean, you shared with us foundational blocks, which were phenomenal. I understand the importance of those and the success that your parents had as parents, to say these are important things, for their kids to know, to find out that your competition and you're doing the reps and applying discipline to your life armed you to succeed in life. And then you found yourself in those emerging adult years, while preparing potentially to play overseas, you were listening to thought leaders and business leaders, and you found yourself the marketing degree as well. So bridge us to how that was the seed, or maybe it was even more than that, into being a content creator and a thought leader yourself.
Yeah, I'll give you the bullet point version of it. As soon as I stepped foot into the business realm, what kicked in my mind was I got to work. Mm-hmm. I got a lot of catching up to do. I'm kind of late to the game. I didn't really yes, I graduated from college, but I really didn't take away the knowledge that I feel I need to take away to be a strong business person out of school. So I had a lot of experience to gain under my belt. And so I literally just committed to trying to figure out what marketing actually meant. And at the time, I was working in my mom's salon, and I was doing this multi-level marketing opportunity. And so for me, I went out on the internet, Google, and it's like, how do you become a great marketer? How do you sell? How do you do this? Because even though I excelled in basketball, I still had insecurities about speaking and like doing things in like sales.
Right.
And so I was doing a whole bunch of research, and I found this business coach who pretty much like blew my paradigm around like life just in general, but around marketing as well. And through him, I learned so much just about what marketing actually meant. I feel like I found a passion in branding and marketing. And then through him, because I was looking for that example, like I told you, and like we've been discussing, Kobe was like he really was a big influence to me because of his example of work ethic. And so I was looking for that person who kind of like was that example in business that I could like emulate. Mm-hmm. And through that business coach, I stumbled across Gary Vee and started to pay attention to what he was doing. And he's the kind of guy that puts all his stuff out there. Like what he put his media, like he records as much content as he can and tries to bring value to his audience. And I started studying kind of his mindset and philosophy about life and business, and realized that right now, especially in 2021, content is the name of the game if you're trying to build a brand or if you're trying to market. And so that kind of led me to challenge myself to start creating and telling my story, because I think, and sorry to cut you off, but I think what I really learned from Gary at the end of the day, the one bullet point is that branding is equivalent to your reputation. And the more authentic you can be, the more susceptible you are to build some true relationships in your life that could create opportunities for your business or whatever you're trying to promote. And so that's where I started. That's where the journey really began for me.
Yeah. So Gary Vee, for those who are not familiar, you should check him out. But Gary Vee was a son of, I think, Russian immigrants, right?
Russian immigrant. Absolutely. Yeah.
Came to the States in his teenage years. Instead of going out and hanging out with the guys, he was working hard, doing the reps, moving his family's alcohol business and wine sales to multimillionaire. And so he was one of the same guys, kind of like Kobe. You had Gary Vee, who was out there doing the reps and putting in the work and rising to the top as a marketer and a brander. I see why, and obviously that is something that draws me too, is his story. Tell me a few things that you learned from Gary Vee, and if you've applied, or how you apply those to what you're doing.
I think it's just more that he's relatable. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel like, and obviously, people can judge it the way they need to judge it, but anybody can put content out there and say what they need to say. But for some reason, I just felt how authentic he was. with sharing his message. And I guess he was more relatable because of being from an immigrant having an immigrant background. And, you know, his main word at the time was like hustle. You have to hustle, hustle, hustle. Like those keywords resonated with me. And, you know, the first takeaway was when I just shared with you, which is what he's teaching is the practice of building your reputation through putting out content. Mm-hmm. Number two, embracing who you are, you know, not trying to be perfect, knowing that your uniqueness is what separates you from the crowd. And number three, which really ties everything together, is just being empathetic, being kind, working hard. That's really the foundation of building something meaningful, actually caring, actually putting in effort. And so it's really just him being so relatable to not only the things I'm into, but just tying. He really connected the dots for me of what my parents were up to.
Yep. And
I found a deeper appreciation for like who my parents were and what they've been doing. And I'm like, oh, this is all making so much sense. Like, I love my parents so much, like just everything they've done for me. And it was through sheer hard work and just being good human beings that I wanted to do that. And that's why I say that my parents are the epitome of helping to inspire, because it was through their example. And I really, that's one thing that I thank Gary for, is he helped peel back that onion layer for me and help me see that that's what my parents were up to this entire time.
Yeah, yeah. One of the messages that Gary delivers every single time that he speaks, right? And almost every single one of his videos or snippets, he's like, bro, he's like, just put out content. He's just like, listen, just put out content. Everybody's got a phone, and you just have to put it out and see what sticks. And you put out a lot of content. Tell us.
I do my best.
Yeah, so you're on probably every platform, right?
I am, yeah.
And you put out a lot of content.
I do.
How much?
I think it's fair to say that I could be putting out more. You know, I went from being, you know, you and I connected on TikTok,
yeah,
which I started posting on that platform early February, you know, and I was putting out 4 videos a day. On top of that, I'll reshare some of that content onto my Instagram page and post on there like 2-3 times a day. Prior to that, I was daily vlogging on YouTube, making 8 to 10 minute videos every single day, and taking clips of those and posting as well. And you being a filmmaker and a creative in that world, you know, that's a grind. So
yeah.
I think I was fortunate enough I don't create as much because I was fortunate enough to meet a platform that had so much organic reach like TikTok, to where I've just been hitting that hard and putting out, you know, I would say all together, I'm probably putting out anywhere from 4 to 6 pieces of content a day.
And experiencing many followers and many views as a result of that content, right?
Right.
What is it about TikTok that has you probably produce? And I'm assuming, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're probably producing more of that content on TikTok than your other platforms today. Is that a correct assumption?
It is.
Why there?
Because of the reach, the ability to reach so many people all over the world. The only reason I started is because, you know, I posted a 15-second video, and literally, I'll just say 24 hours later, after 37,000 views and 8,000 comments, I'm connected with the world. And so my efforts on Facebook, my efforts on Instagram, my efforts on YouTube never met that kind of viewership. And so for me, it was just the obvious thing to just stick with this and, you know, keep connecting with the world, because I think one of the main things that I was looking for when I originally made my first hype video was connection. I just really wanted to engage and see if I could create content that actually mattered to people in the world. And so this actually was a test to see if I could reach how many people I could reach. And now it's turned into, you know, my signature brand, you know, for my personal brand.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, because I would say that there's probably a good number of folks that will watch this over the next several months, several weeks, don't have a TikTok account. For those of you who don't know, on TikTok, based upon the logarithm or how the software is set up, if people watch or like or finish your video, it gets pushed out to others.
Right.
and you may have 100 people following you, but if you put out a piece of content that is determined of value because people like it, watch it, share it, then it could potentially go to hundreds of thousands or perhaps even million or so.
Correct.
No wonder your brand is developing and your viewership increasing. Tell us about how that came about, the visual with the hand, as well as how that branding, both visually and audio, has gone.
Yeah. So I'm sitting in my sunroom right now, and this was in February 12th. I just looked it up this morning, I believe, maybe, or yesterday. Either way, I was sitting here in the sunroom, and it was snowing outside, ironically, and I was just sitting there scrolling through the app, and this is me kind of being a newbie to TikTok, and I'm like, man, I can't figure this thing out. Like, I'm trying to learn the language of this platform. I was like, you know what? Scratch all that, Joe. It doesn't even matter. You're able to make videos. You know how to make videos. Why don't you just create a simple video that says you want to say hi to people in the world and see what happens? So for whatever reason, there was a Sharpie sitting like right in front of me. I grabbed it, put hi on my hand. I was like, this is a visual platform, right? Let me put some music in the background. Let me go outside and create a nice aesthetic as well. Like snow flakes are falling and hitting my face. And let me just tell the world that it'd be dope to say hi to them. And so, like I said, 37,000 views later and, almost 9,000 comments, I'm having people like DM me saying, wow, your video really impacted me, made me feel better. Or, I just want to say hi. Like, that's the nicest thing you've done. And this is pre-pandemic, which blows my mind. You would think that it would make more sense that people would feel that way being stuck at home and being quarantined, but this is pre-pandemic. So I was like, wow, like I did not realize how a simple message or a concept would like affect people in that way. And so literally after that video and after I kind of was engaging with people, I was like, Joe, you're deeper than that. Because I feel like I'm a pretty deep guy. I have to go in and like create meaning around everything that I do. So I was like, so are you just going to walk around and be the high guy? Like, what does that actually mean to you? And instantaneously, Help Inspire came to mind. I have no idea why. And this is where the universe is, people use the term luck all the time. And cool, I could say that was a lucky moment how Help Inspire came to me. But I think it was just preparation. I think preparation met opportunity in that moment. I was like, Help Inspire. Wow, like that's always been me. Everything I've always done, I've done it because I've wanted to impact. I wanted to leave some kind of impact. And not because I feel like I'm better than anybody, not because I'm trying to be cooler than anybody. I've just always been that kid pre my accident going into the 5th grade. I've always been that kid who just wanted to see people smile and have fun with life. And so I was like, Help Inspire is the mission that I'm on through everything that I do. And I think it took the pressure off of me feeling like I needed to do something like crazy with my brand. And I'm just being myself.
You are humble and you're a strong leader. This is probably something that you wouldn't kind of throw out there, but I'm going to ask the question and give you the opportunity to answer it. And that is, if you had to guess, and how many people have viewed let's say, your TikTok account? If you were just to say, if I were to add up roughly how many people saw hi on my hand, is it 1 million? Is it 2 million?
This is going to be a wild guess because I have no idea, but the number that comes to mind just out of just blindly, because I'm not even looking at my analytics, right? Just to let you know, I don't do any, I'm bad with the stats. Right. The number that came to mind instantaneously was like 500,000. That view, are you talking about the high video?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm talking about all your videos together.
Yeah. I think I definitely surpassed 1 million for sure.
Yeah. What do you think it is about positivity that draws people in?
Hope. Mm-hmm. I think everybody on some level hopes to be happier. They hope for a better something. I think people are always looking forward to the good. And I think this is just me kind of thinking about it now. The media, especially traditional media and like the news outlets and things of that nature, like there's a lot of negativity that's promoted because of the views.
Right.
And I think that conditions people to either be worrying about something or angry about something, and people don't realize like how that conditioning impacts and plays in their life. And I kind of almost am excited that I have been that kid that's always been the naive, gullible one that's just been on this adventure of like, where can I find the happiness? Because I think that's what's playing out right now, is that people are just looking for something to hold on to that's positive. And I'm not saying that, and it kind of sounds weird for me saying that, so I want to make sure everybody understands I'm not trying to come across as like, oh, I'm that light that everybody needs. I'm just saying positivity in general, is what people look forward to hold on to, because sometimes when you look at these media outlets, like there's nothing good to see. There's nothing with meaning, out there. Yeah.
You are way deeper than just a high, but give us a story. Tell us if you've ever encountered somebody noticing you or giving you a high back, or tell us about that.
All the time. I'm a character. Coming out of college, and really even during college, is when I started trying to work on myself, like speaking. We had to do, obviously being a marketing and business major, we had to do presentations, and I realized, like, even this, Roger, I'm gonna be completely candid, I get nervous for stuff like this,
Yeah.
And I'm happy, and I always tell people that I'm actually becoming my dream as we speak. Like, this is the dream for me, because I feel like I'm getting better and better, right? And these are just me kind of leveling up. But like coming out of college, I'd be really, really nervous and anxious about just speaking in front of people and communicating, doubting myself, thinking I'm not smart enough. And so as I've been going on this journey and listening to the Zig Ziglars, the Gary, like all these thought leaders, and just like trying to recondition our mind and be more positive, I'm seeing my growth. Like even me doing this, I'm like, wow, I'm fascinated that I'm able to even hold conversations at this level. And so I'm a character. I'm becoming more of a character. I feel like I'm becoming that child again that used to just go out there and give people wrong numbers and tell them to like communicate. And so now I catch myself going out in grocery stores, like saying what's up to everybody and saying hi, how's your day, and you've attended my lives, and when people ask me how I'm doing, I'm like dandy like candy, and I feel like I stole that from somebody in the grocery store. One day I was probably in the aisle checking out, and I said hi to this guy, and he was like, I was like, hi, how you doing? And he was like, dandy like candy, and I started cracking up, and it was in that moment that I took that from him. I kind of said, I'm going to start applying that, because I saw how it made me laugh, and I saw how it put a smile on my face. So that's one of the moments that I feel like a high inspired moment. When I'm running outside, one thing that I love to do is just wave at every car that goes by me. And I always, in the back of my mind, think, how crazy do they think I am? Or how much do they appreciate the fact that I wave? Like, who was the last person that actually waved hi to them? So I don't know. I have fun with high, and I've been doing this probably before I even realized that this was going to be a thing. And, I'm pretty sure there's more highlights, but those are like the top two that I can pull out for now.
If you follow Joe out on TikTok, then you will also notice that there's a lot of people who are out there creating their own videos with high on their hand as well. And so that movement, I think there's a universal attraction to passing forward positivity and inspiration. And I think that as you're taking a look at what is now probably unexpectedly becoming a visual brand. We see it on your shirt, and somebody next week who shares is going to be able to win a high beanie. It's becoming a brand, and so that's got to feel fulfilling. Is that it's not just that you're over 1 million people have watched your videos and that people are doing this, but that you're inspiring and you're inspiring others.
Yeah, it's wild. I think it sometimes it freaks me out, like what this is turning into, because I didn't go into it thinking oh, this is going to become like I'm going to be wearing a hat or a t-shirt. I had no idea this was going to turn into what it is now. It just is. And I'm just kind of riding that wave. And, back to the point of like the simplicity of this message and how like it's a universal, it's true. And I thought about it even on my runs. When I came up with the logo, which I'm blessed to have had a creator reach out to me on Instagram and, do it for free. Shout out to Kevin. Yeah, there he goes. I was on the run and I was like, man, this is high is a universal language. I can go to any country and do this and someone will do it back to me. Mm-hmm. And I not even speak the same language as them, and for me, it's being the example of kindness in less than 60 seconds. And one of the biggest things that I've always said, even in high school, which blows my mind, I've always said this is we have to lead by example, and so by us embodying kindness in less than 60 seconds, I think it's really impactful. And this, as simplistic as it is, I think that's what matters the most in a message like this.
Your branding was not just an effective, thought-provoking, a inspiring high, but you've also found yourself repeating some sounds, and I'm thinking how Bill Withers, right? How he's now, Rest in Peace is now connected to positivity. Not only because the lyrics and the feeling of his music evokes that, but because now it's being connected into your brand. Tell us about that, just in a few minutes.
It's another crazy story. So on my lives, I like to play background music, just to kind of set the mood. I love music. Mm-hmm. I kind of give credit to my mom. She's she listens to music 24/7. Us growing up in the house, like she had music blasting. She woke us up to music. So especially like 70s soul, 80s music, yacht rock. That's what my mom listened to a lot. On top of, her traditional, African music as well. But it's nostalgic to me. So that's why I play in the mornings, because it puts me in a good mood. And I feel like how you start your day pretty much dictates how your day is going to be. And so, when I'm going live on TikToks, I play some background music of some 70s soul, 80s soul music. And every time Lovely Day would come on, I would get this feeling of like that's where it's at. And so kind of, I started opening and closing my TikTok live shows with that. And one day it hit me to make a video trying to connect High and Lovely Day, because everybody knew that I listened to Lovely Day all the time. Try to make a video around that. And what happened in that moment for me was, and the reason why I've used it in over 50 videos, using the sound Lovely Day in over 50 videos, is because I challenged myself to see how creative I could be with a simple message of positivity. Because I feel like if you listen to the lyrics of Lovely Day, the message is super simple, but with the melody and the way he presents it, it gives you that good feeling every single time. And so in my mind, I was like challenging myself to see how can I use this sound, but be creative with how I position my message to see how it would impact people in that way. Because I guess I'm trying to, and you know about this because you talk about the filters and all that, but I think there's something to be said about subconsciously training your mind to be positive. And so I was like, you know what, if I can create videos that trigger people in the morning to be more positive, I feel like I'm doing a good deed.
And it's not just making inspiring videos that start people off, but it's going live, and you primarily have gone. This is my my narrow view. It appears that most of your live streams are in the morning.
Yeah.
Why is that?
My schedule. Mm-hmm. Dad of twins. So when they wake up, they pretty much run the day. They're my boss. Courtney and I work from home, and just the best time. I feel like the morning times are my quiet times, and it's always been that way. When I was working out during my basketball career, one of my favorite workouts was early in the morning, because my mindset was while everybody's sleeping, I'm up working. Yeah. And I'm applying that work ethic of my mind. Like, this is the new basketball game for me, is how can I strengthen this part of me? And so I use the mornings to like have some me time, but also kind of collect my thoughts and do things that I love, so that the rest of the day is, I can commit to other tasks like business or like my family or things of that nature. So it's really a schedule thing, but then I've turned it into, I figured out a way to make it meaningful to me, which is, I think, how you start your day is the best thing you can do.
And there's at times well over 100 people joining into those live groups as well, because starting off their day and even reflecting back to your cup of Joe, to those days, you're not only inspiring by short videos, but you're giving the opportunity to connect with an audience and a community on many days each week. Tell us, as we kind of are wrapping things up today, tell us a little bit about your lives, what they look like, how they differ from other lives that are out there.
The main thing is I actually use that time to try to connect with people, not only, by responding to comments and questions, but I invite them in to text in to my community phone number, which I created specifically to try to engage one-on-one with my audience. And so when I go live, I try to give that time for them to be able to engage with me one-on-one and either learn more about me, or maybe I can answer a question or give them a piece of encouragement that could help them start their day off right. And so one of the main things that I do when people call me in, is I ask them for a word of the day. And that is because I was trying to figure out a way that I could, without directly telling people like, hey, you need to be positive, like today, I was like, let me challenge you. Like, you think about where you're at in your life, because everybody is something. Everybody has a story. Everybody has things that they're working through. Maybe I could challenge you to think about a word that will help you get through your day better. And so I started doing a series called What's Your Word of the Day? And when people call in, we'll connect. I'll say hi, they'll say hi back, and then I'll ask them what their word of the day is. And I always tell people, like, make sure that word is for you. Make sure you're pretty much having a conversation with yourself, because as we can help inspire ourselves, we help inspire other people. And I feel like that's what this entire journey is about. Is like, I've learned that the more I'm working on myself and I'm seeing the results of me becoming a better human being, that's what's happening with my personal brand, is that's coming out. And so that's what I feel gives my live, makes my live different than everybody else who goes live.
And sometimes those conversations get deep, right? It's not just hi, it's conversations. And I think that from my perspective, that you're providing that listening ear, that encouragement for those folks that are in the deep end of the pool of life, right? Or that season in life, are like, listen, I got to start off my days. I got to jump on that TikTok live because I got to start off and hear some positive words and find a supportive community. And maybe at the end of it, hear Bill Withers' lovely day, right?
Exactly. Right.
I got two more questions for you as we kind of wrap it up. Thank you so much for spending this time.
Man, this has been fun. It's been fun so far. And people who've been tuning in, like, I really appreciate you guys hanging out and, vibing with Roger and I. Roger, by the way, man, I said this, I don't know if you were in my live, but I was like, man, I really appreciate the fact that you're really thoughtful with your questions and, like, your conversation. I feel like I can talk to you all day. And we've had several conversations on my live, so I really do appreciate just engaging and going back and forth with you.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine for sure. All right, two more questions, and that is, these are maybe some takeaways, something that we can learn. Tell us about your rituals, like what your rituals are that makes Joe Atang Joe.
For sure. I'm going to answer that. Let me say this last thing, because I think you need to hear it, because it's really important to me. I think what makes this experience and, like, the experience to have a dialogue with you meaningful is that you're a good listener. And that's something that I try to embody every time I'm communicating or interacting with people. And it was back in 2012, my business coach, Craig Ward, we were doing primarily what he was coaching on is how to do sales over the phone, how to attract clients who were ready to buy whatever product, and how to listen to their needs and sell your product. And it was through that experience that helped me realize that listening is such an undervalued skill, especially in the world where we're bombarded with massive amounts of media and content. And so I feel like the real reason I've been able to break through is by trying to be a good listener. And that's something that I see in you. And that's why I feel like I appreciate, having these conversations with you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That's meaningful to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're saying my rituals.
Yeah.
I try my best to like start my days off as positive as I can, even if I feel like I'm waking up in a bad mood, or I'm a human being. Like sometimes I'll wake up and I want to just go to sleep all day, and so I try to be real intentional about meditation has been one of those practices that have completely changed my life. And again, I give credit to Craig for kind of making me look into and be open to what the practice of meditation is. But I try to meditate twice a day, and I really feel like that's part of me now. I feel like if I don't meditate, the day's kind of weird. Now, I've made it through days without meditating, but it's kind of so weird. It's just the day's weird if I don't meditate. So I'll do that for like 15 minutes. And let me go a little specific for people out there, because I think this is the ritual for me. I'll go in my bathroom and turn on the air vent and like just sit on my toilet and try as best as I can to just focus on my breathing and let the thoughts pass. Good, bad, any kind of thoughts, I practice on just letting them pass and bringing my consciousness back to breathing. And what that does for me is put things in perspective, that all we have is the now, because most of the time when we're worrying is because we're thinking about something in the past, or when we have some kind of anxiety is because we're worried about the future. And what meditation has done is like made me focus on this moment and being grateful for the things that I have. And so I feel like that practice alone has like been the game changer for me growing as a human being. Outside of that, I'll put on a podcast. I'll something positive. I try to work out in the mornings, just because I feel like that it helps me feel alive, brings me some real energy. And I think hanging out with my family, Courtney and the babies, in the morning also is part of the ritual too, at this phase of my life. So
you're a father of two.
Yep.
What are those foundations that you are placing with your kids?
They're actually placing foundations on me. They're helping me realize that I don't know anything. And they're challenging me to continuously challenge my own thought process that I don't really know. Because sometimes I'll catch, like, for instance, my son Jude, he's super curious. He's basically me. He's really curious. He wants to go figure out where's a new spot of the house that he can dig into. And sometimes I'll be like, no, you're not doing that. But then I immediately am like, why am I saying no? Like, why can't he explore? Why can't he learn? And so for me, they're teaching me to look more in the mirror and continuously ask myself, what kind of example do I want to be for them? And am I allowing them to be who they need to be? Because I feel like the only reason I'm able to be who I am is because I learned about myself. And so I feel like they're teaching me to unlearn what I think I know.
How do we find you? How do we find you out on the different platforms?
Yeah, Joe Atang, everywhere. On Instagram, there's a dot in between Joe and Atang. But on all platforms, I'm Joe Atang.
Last name Atang.
Yep, I always say like orangutan without the orang.
Well, I am thankful that you spent an hour sharing your story. The simplicity of the help inspire is profoundly complex and inspiring.
It's wild. Yeah.
And I appreciate that you shared that your journey with me, and that you shared it with the community out here on Facebook. We're grateful that you were authentic, transparent. You shared the low points and some high points too, and we appreciate that.
I appreciate you, Roger, and I appreciate everybody out there who tunes in. is tuning in now and tunes in later. I always say, because I really am appreciative of it, and I want to make sure people realize, like, this moment's surreal to me. To be here having a conversation with someone like yourself in front of people who are willing to spend their time, which I think is our most prized asset. To listen to me talk is humbling, and I feel honored that you invited me to be on here. So thank you, and shout out to the Atang gang out there. Appreciate the love and appreciate the support that the community has showed me.
And thank you to your family for allowing us to borrow Dad and loved ones here for an hour. We appreciate it. For those who share, next week we're going to draw a name for a help inspire beanie, and we'll send it out to you in time for you to get a little bit of cold air wear out of it. Thanks again, Joe. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it, my man.